how do you raise $1 million, right? So we have 3 local entrepreneurs who has raised $1 million. And we have 2 international speakers who will tell you how to raise $1 million. Or rather, they will, I think they will probably put it in a different way. I'll leave it for them. So what we'll do is we'll take just about half a minute to 1 minute to do a quick intro about you guys. So we'll start from Jeffrey.
Hi guys, my name is Zulfa. I'm actually the founder and CEO of PickMe.
Hi all, I'm Chamir Jaisingh from Sri Lanka.
Hi, I'm Keith Wallace, and I'm in the unenviable position of being told I can take a little longer because you might not have heard of me. So I'm not taking too long by myself. But I head up something called the Investors Club, or the Investeerders Club in Holland, a collective of individuals that invest in startups. We've been doing that for about 9 years. And I also work with an impact investment fund for Northern Africa and for Southern Africa in food and lifestyle and creative industries. As well as that, I also work together with Get in the Ring in more than 100 countries in the world, competition, putting entrepreneurs in the ring and getting them to pitch against each other. So yeah, I'm in the entrepreneurial circles, let's put it that way.
Hi, I'm Ray Newell. I'm the managing director of Techstars, running the first accelerator in the emerging markets for Techstars, which is based in Bangalore. Bit of background, I spent first decade of my career with Yahoo, Microsoft, and Google, believe it or not, and then went on to do a startup in India. Wanted to bring the next billion people online, and I decided to do it through video streaming on 2G networks to feature phones. That's changed. And I had an exit. I did raise more than $1 million and then had an exit in 2015 and then started investing in and being a mentor to startups. And yeah, now I'm with Techstars, and I can tell you a little bit about Techstars as we go through the evening.
Hi, I'm Heshan, one of the co-founders of ODoc. So ODoc is an app that connects you with doctors for video consultations. If any of you have wasted a lot of time in going to see a doctor, please download our app and give it a try. The first consultation is free.
Right, thank you guys. So he took the best time out of promoting his app. Right, okay, so we'll first start with the basics. I'll go to Keith. What are the fundamentals? What are the techniques that you would share with Sri Lankans here in raising $1 million?
I think if I look at the commonalities of the companies we've invested in, it comes down to the team and pretty much the founder. That person needs to be able to speak the language of the investor. They need to be willing to work hard and not think that the 4-hour work week actually exists. Now, the people that we invest in are those that are able to give us a proper, realistic business plan, that are willing to work exceptionally hard to make that work, are willing to drive their people exceptionally hard. And it isn't for everyone. I mean, I think that the name of this panel today is raising $1 million. I think my question is, do you really want to do that? Do you want to have people like us investing in your company? Because it changes the dynamic so much. It means that you are going to be driven faster. You are going to be driven towards exit and towards growth. And that's not for everyone. So I'm doing in this a bit of the negative pitch towards the people in the audience. If you choose that you wish to raise that amount of money, please learn how to speak to us. Please learn the realism of what you can get and understand that it could be tranched. Because if you think that there's value, you need to show that to us. And all of the deals that we've done where more than $1 million has gone into a company, it's never been in one round. We've always had a long getting to know each other period with the first round of money. And then the entrepreneurs come back, a higher valuation has gone on, and we've seen how they've dealt with a lack of cash. We've seen how they've gone around the problems with just their ingenuity and not spending money. And that's actually what I want to truly get, that the entrepreneur is able to use the money that's given to them to grow the business and not just to solve problems that their ingenuity would have solved beforehand. So I think I'll hand over at that point because I know
Sure,
the others have
yeah.
something more important to say.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go to Chamira. So he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs who has raised $1.8 million, I think 6 months ago, probably. Yeah, 8 months ago, right? So Chamira, can you share your story of how you did this and whether you used any methodologies or was it something which happened with quite a lot of planning and stuff?
Yeah, so the virtue I had was I didn't know anything about acquisitions, merger and acquisitions, and I don't know about accounting, finance, and marketing. All I knew was engineering, innovation, and hustling. So I think I wasn't scared to get the investment because of that. So we started back in 2011 as a service company where we did a lot of freelancing work for different clients. So it was a 7 years journey since the investment. So what we have to do is we acquired a lot of knowledge and we made sure that we have an amazing culture inside our office. So we have around 120 engineers on board with us with the creativity. So Arimac is all about modulating technology with creativity and giving different kind of solutions to our clients. So prior to the investment, we knew that we wanted an investment like 5 years back. So we made sure that we get proper clients on board with us. So we got Etihad, Emirates, Nestle, Unilever, like global clients in our portfolio, so our investors would feel very safe with us. So then we did different global operations. Now we are in 14. We are doing different business in 14 different countries, catering to 100 global clients. So that's our journey, and like the journey was very hard because to be very honest, doing a service-based business is like every month we have a salary bill to pay. So we didn't have any investment in the inception of our company. So every day, we didn't take salaries. Our core team, they are still with us as a family. So in the first 2-3 years, we didn't get any salary for ourselves. So we were like hustling so hard. And then we got different big projects, and we made sure that we accelerate deliver all the projects that we get. So we have a kind of a good relationship with our clients. So it's the journey that we took.
Quite inspirational. So Heshan, right? I think you are fairly a young company who made it to 1 million, right? So what's your experience? What's your journey? How was it?
Okay, so before I answer that, I think I must say that the biggest contributing factor in us raising $1 million was mainly luck. To the extent that I even had to Google how to raise $1 million last night in order to prepare for this panel. Saying that, I think there are 3 key ingredients that will really increase your probability of raising a large round. The biggest one being team. You need to get an awesome team in place, and especially if you're a non-technical founder doing a tech product like I am, you're basically dead weight. So you need to have a really good team who have a track record of executing well. And also, I think it will help if the team know each other for a long time, because one of the biggest reasons startups do fail is because of co-founder breakup. The other ingredient, I think, is to go after a large market. So if by some miracle your startup succeeds, there'll be a big payout for the investors. And the third, maybe slightly counterintuitive point is to pick a hard problem. Counterintuitively, hard problems are easier to solve because there are more people willing to help you out in it. Yeah.
All right, thanks. So Jeffrey, I think out of all, 30 million, right? So the question is not about the 30 million, question is how hard it was to raise the first million.
I think first, I think there's 2 sides to this, right? One is the credibility, right? Your team, do you have a history, right? If you have that, so raising money is not a problem. Then why do you want to raise the money? You need to have a big enough problem to raise that $1 million or 10 million or 100 million or whatever. and you look around, people are even raising $1 billion now, right? So you need to find a big enough problem to raise that kind of money, right? So I think I live with that, right? You need to have a big enough problem, but obviously if you're raising that first $1 million, you need to build credibility. History is important. If you have some entrepreneurship behind you, it'll help you, but then you need to build the credibility to raise that kind of money.
Okay, so Ray, so the challenge is, should you raise $1 million? So being in the corporate sector and also being in startups, doing startups on your own, and then now advising to a lot of startups, what would you like to add?
Wow. So personally speaking, when I sold my last company, the prevailing thought I had was, why the hell did I raise money, right? Because I think, this is one of those panels where I actually agree with everything that has been said. When I was building the company, I think the objective became at some point, man, I need to raise money. And what's funny is when that stopped being the objective, that was actually when I raised the money. But that money came with a lot of expectations and a lot of strings, right? And now I'm coming here sitting in the seat of an investor, and I think, not every company should raise venture capital. And I think it's important for you to recognize that, and it's not just you in this audience. I think across the world, there is a lot of, it's cool to build startups all of a sudden, and everyone wants to build startups and build venture capital focused startups and raise money. And I think once you go through it, you realize, to build a company that earns profit and that sustains itself and that pays your bills and allows you to be happy, that's a perfectly good business, right? So I think that it's important to really give credence to, what is that $1 million that you're going to go out and raise going to really do? And is it going to add to your life? Is it going to add to the company you're building in any significant way? So I think the point was made, you need to have a reason to raise the $1 million. If you don't have a reason, how is that going to change your business when you raise the $1 million? If you don't have a very clear answer to that question, then I'd say that either you shouldn't raise the $1 million or you shouldn't raise it yet, because until you have an answer to that question, you don't know what you don't know. Is that okay?
Right. So raising $1 million, the biggest question is, how do you do valuation, right? Because there is no scale, right? It depends on business to business, it depends on industry to industry, it depends on country to country, right? So we'll start from Sulfur, right? What's your thought about valuation? How do you see it, and what's your experience?
So I've raised a number of rounds. So I think what it finally comes down is the market size. How big is the market, right? And then finally, what is your cash requirement, right? So that's essentially is the formula, right? I think we've gone past the discussion of profitability and all that, but finally, what's this opportunity, right? What can this business scale up to become? And in this transport sector, obviously people need to travel, so there's a huge opportunity, and that's what investors are willing to invest on. So in whatever business that you're trying to build, look at the bigger opportunity. What can this business scale to become? And hence, then you can come up with your valuation. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So Keith, as an investor, how do you guys look at evaluating a company, seeing whether this company is worth investing? What's your thought about it?
I think it was something that was brought up before. We probably wouldn't want to invest in a company that had as its goal to raise $1 million. You're investing in a company that's running well, where the entrepreneurship has been proven, where there's a need for capital to grow and to scale the business. And then valuation becomes something that's much easier to do because you've got a business that has history, it has potential clients, there are contracts. Valuation becomes an art. That's why a lot of people go and do their MBA. Then it pays off at that point. So for me, interacting with the company, I want to see that the effort is going into the running of that company, not principally into the raising of the capital. Then my job is much easier because I'm dealing with a true entrepreneur. But I do meet people that are out there that are prematurely trying to raise money, that say that they just want to create a relationship with me as an investor for future rounds. And that gets a little tiring after you've heard it for the third or fourth time. Yes, I don't mind meeting entrepreneurs and giving mentorship, occasionally even advice, although I really don't like to be kept to that. But I want to see the entrepreneur doing what they were there for in the first place, building their team, executing, and being really excellent at what they do. Because then my job as investor is very simple.
Right, thanks. So, Ray, Techstars being one of the investors of Uber, competitor to pick me. So, you guys have, I think, set it up all over the world, Techstar accelerators, where you take companies and you evaluate them and then go for the investment rounds, right? So, how do you basically look at the best fit startups who would come on board with you guys? So, what's the angle that you look at?
So there's a saying in venture capital when you're, especially in early stage, the stage that we're at, the best companies, well, the best investments are built on the formula of founder, 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 a good product, and a great market, right? So 60% of it is founder. And I think it was mentioned earlier, it's, for us, it's really about the person who's doing it for the right reason. Because as anyone here can tell you, building a startup is hard. It's a slog. On average, expect to do it for 10 years to actually get anywhere interesting with your startup. We don't want to make investments in startups where as soon as the first challenge comes along, the founder will leave, right? The founder will go get a job. I think it's really critical that you do it for, you're doing something you're really connected to, right? There's a reason you're doing it. It doesn't have to be something you're passionate about, but it has to be something you're really connected to. You think it's a really solid purpose. Something that when things go tough, when the going gets tough, you're going to keep at it. So it's that, but I think another part of it is you really do need to be after a big enough market, especially if you're going to raise venture capital. The whole venture capital, the premise of venture capital is we go and invest in a lot of companies hoping that a very small number of them are going to become billion-dollar companies, right? And the thing is, when we make every investment, we make that investment expecting every company to be a billion-dollar company. It's just that only a couple of them succeed, right? But every one of them that we make the investment in, we have equal expectation it's going to be a billion-dollar business. So here's a little secret for you. A lot of the valuation stuff that you hear about venture capital and early stage venture capital, a lot of it is just math. It's venture capital math. It has absolutely nothing to do, especially as you go early stage and you don't have much information on sales, you don't have much financial data. I mean, how are we going to possibly value a company when you've just put out the product, 6 months ago, right? So the truth is there's a lot of backward math. It's reverse math from a billion-dollar valuation, and every fund, depending on the size of the fund, they have to return the money. Guess what? Every fund, we are accountable to the people who invest in the fund. We got to return their money, and that money has to be returned not in forever. It has to be returned in the 10-year horizon of the fund, and oftentimes by the time the investment gets made, that's 5 years left. So you got to know all this, and anyway, to answer the question, there's a lot of things that essentially impact valuation.
Right. So this is to Chamira and Heshan. Now you both have raised over 1 million, right? So how is the pressure? Has the pressure changed, or are you having fun?
Yeah, so I think raising a large round is a double-edged sword. The more you raise, the deeper you dig yourself into a hole. But saying that, I always think if the terms are right, it's... oh, that was me. If the terms are right, you should probably take the money because whatever you're trying to do normally costs more than you think it's going to cost, takes longer than you think it's going to take, and also there may be unexpected opportunities that you can capitalize on if you have more funding. But it's tough, sleepless nights.
Samira?
Definitely having fun. So prior to the investment, we calculated what exactly the amount that we want. So what I believe personally, more money, more problems. So we made sure that we raise what exactly we want, and we have given away 49%. So that was a huge buzz in Sri Lanka, because why I have given 49% of the company that I have made for 7 years. But in order to make an investor very serious, you need to show him that we trust him and he needs to trust us. So we knew that we have done a lot of services around the globe, and we knew what a kind of products that would work in the market, because we have acquired a lot of experience doing services to 100 global clients. So as a team, we wanted to make products, so that's why we got the investment from the right investor who doesn't push us for anything. So what we believe is the culture and the equity that we make from the innovations that we do. So now we are doing a couple of artificial intelligence products, and then we have gaming products. Then we are making Southern Asia's first humanoid robot with that investment. So we are definitely having fun with technology, with the investment that we have acquired.
So good. It's a positive note.
Yes.
That you're having fun with the investment. Right. I believe the audience would have a lot of questions to ask. We have 3 Sri Lankan entrepreneurs who had made over $1 million. So I would like to open the forum for questions from them, as well as our foreign speakers.
So the question, it just popped when it was brought up, saying about the humanoid robots. What are the measures are taken to make sure that there are ethics being looked at? Because one thing I have seen in the little time I have observed is that with money there's push to, how can we get people addicted to this or use this product all the time, and how can we maintain the humanness? And if you are dealing with technology that is dealing with robots, what type of things are happening?
To be very honest, I couldn't understand what
So
exactly.
the ethics. So when we are replacing humans with robots, how are we managing the balance between humans and robots, and are there any ethics being considered?
Yeah, definitely. Like if you get your mobile phone, so you are not letting your mobile phone to use you. You are using your mobile phones. So likewise, like we are making robots to make our lives easier, not to make sure that they control us. So in terms of ethics, I don't know. It's very it's very personalized and it's subjective. So as I mentioned, I'm not a person who talks on this kind of stages and all that. So what I do is hustling and doing different kind of innovations. So why we are making a robot? I'll tell you, I don't know about the ethics, but I'll tell you the exact reason why we are making a robot here down in Sri Lanka. So why Arimac? We are reducing the brain drain here. So I have seen as a student, a lot of bright students and bright engineers from Sri Lanka are going abroad and working for other countries, so which causes a lot of brain drain here. So we made a game called Kanchayuddha in 2017. We didn't raise any amount of money from that, but after that game we have very good 4 startups who has started making games for Sri Lanka. So from Sri Lanka. So a lot of engineers who wanted to go abroad are now staying here and doing work. So definitely the robot that we are making, I don't know whether we'll make money or not. Our investor is very educated about that as well. Like he's a very cool guy to have it. So, but I know a lot of mechatronics engineers, AI engineers who wanted to go abroad, now working at our office to make that robot. So I think I'm not answering your question, but I'm telling why we are making the robot.
Well, thank you for that. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of you. We've had those conversations, and I know you as an individual will make sure that, you know, whatever you guys do will be a positive impact towards the human race versus a negative impact. And just as you just said that you're addressing the brain drain, and that's kudos to you, fantastic work. So thank you, but
Thank you.
obviously we'll have an offline conversation about that.
Thank you.
Hello. My question is, as usually when people go into startup, they don't really have the entire thing figured out, right? Passion is one of the many things that drives them towards the startup, right? And as Ray has mentioned that one of the key things when an investor is looking to invest is founder plus product plus market, right? So my question is, how important is an exit strategy when a company is seeking for an investment?
I think you need to maybe give it a little bit of thought, but you know, to be honest with you, you know, that like I really don't think that factors in. I mean, if you get the other three right, if you're doing it for the right reason, it's a good product and it's a great market, and you're able to really crack that, right? That market with the product, I think the rest takes care of itself.
Thank you.
So we have some questions at the back. Yeah, you go ahead.
Hi, this is addressed at the investors. You guys talked about the importance of having great founders. Can you talk a little bit about how you evaluate like how good a founder is from the perspective of an investor?
Well, I heard one word from this gentleman that made me think great investment. He said, I went out and I hustle. And that's actually what I want to see in a founder. I don't want to have someone that's coming to me and asking for advice all of the time. I want to have someone who's able just to go out and do it. Someone that I trust is actually going to keep their promises. That occasionally is going to disappoint because they do things in another way than we thought they would, but they do it for the right reasons. And that's really how I'm looking at the founder. Do I trust them? Well, I also do some due diligence. I do dig into their background. I do go and have lunch with their wife or husband because I want to see that there's support there as well. Because the founder isn't supported just by the team that surrounds them in the office, they're also supported by a much wider family. And if that support is missing, then the 100% is not going in. So it is the individual, it is the team that surrounds them, and how long and how well they've put that together, and their family life. And if we take that plus the entrepreneurship they've been able to prove by bringing in real money, contracts, that's how I look at a founder.
There's not much to add to that. I think it's, I don't think there's one, you know, mold for anything in life, especially a founder. But hustle is a word that I use a lot. And, you know, the founder, when something goes wrong, it's, there's no one to blame, right? It's your problem, you gotta solve it. And you know, use the analogy a lot of, you know, jumping out of a plane without a parachute, figuring out how to build a parachute in the air. This is what it is. And it takes a special kind of person to do that. And that's what's hard about our job is we meet a lot of people and we have to find who has that, and it's more art than science.
I think there's one other thing that in a founder, what I want to see is when there's a problem, they're not asking what the solution is. They're coming up with 5 or 6 solutions and saying, let's play through these scenarios and see which way we can go forward. Because in effect, they want to drive their own destiny. We're only there as investors to put some money, a little network, and some knowledge in. But it is that individual that's going to drive this million or billion-dollar company forward. That's what we need to see.
Yeah, my question is to
Go ahead.
ODOC, because it's a new to local market. What's the turning point to you invent this app? What's the turning point to you start the app?
Oh,
and
okay.
also that if you start the thing, how did you get the investors for?
Okay, so the first question was how we came up with this idea. All right, so about 2 years ago, I just had my second son. And as everyone with children would know that they get sick all the time. And I found myself and my wife at the doctor's office almost on a monthly basis for very minor conditions. At the same time, I started reading Tech in Asia, and actually outside one of these doctors' waiting rooms, I read this article on how telemedicine is taking off in India. And I just thought the conditions were right with smartphone penetration and internet speeds to implement it on a mass scale in Sri Lanka.
How did you find the investors for?
Oh, so for us, it was, I would say, a 9-year journey, because my lead investor was my previous boss at the company I worked for right out of uni. And I worked under him for 9 years. So it took 9 years, I think, of relationship building to get him on board.
So we have some questions at the back.
Yeah. Hi. Actually, my question was partly answered by him, but I will phrase the question again to the other two entrepreneurs on the stage. That is, when you first raise your money, how exactly did it happen? Like, did you all have links to investors, or did you all build the product and the investors came to you? How exactly did that happen when you first raised money?
I think Shamir and Shafiqan.
Yeah, I had some very interesting stories around that. So some of the investors I've never met before. One person, in fact, I just had a chat over the gym, and then he said he'll invest, right? So that was one way. He was doing push-ups, and I just went up to him and said, you know, I'm doing this business, would you like to invest? And he said yes. And then the other one was essentially referrals, you know. So I was introduced by my in-laws to someone else, and then he introduced me to the other guy, and then that's how I worked my way through. So I didn't know them in person before that, but essentially worked my way through, and then of course I had some credibility behind me, and then obviously I had an idea that I could really sell well, and that's how I got them to invest on me.
Shamir, you'd like to add something?
Yeah, how I met my investor was, he was the chairman of a leading tile company in Sri Lanka, and 3 years back they wanted to make a bathroom visualizer. So as I was telling, like, we were doing a lot of service business to different clients, and they had different quotes from one from a French company and one from a state-based company, and both the companies have asked for 12 months to develop it. So then I went, and because I knew the head of IT personally, so he was telling me about this, and I told, okay, no problem, because Arimac has our own strategy called accelerated delivery. So I told them within 8 weeks, we'll deliver the same scope with the same quality. So we delivered, and that's how I got my investor on board. It just like a couple of days, I asked the money and he gave, and it's all good. So we made sure that we had the perfect connection, and we knew that we wanted to have that, so that's how we did it.
So we had 3 different approaches, being 9 years working and building the trust, doing a product and proving to the client, and accidentally meeting somebody at the gym, and connections. Right, so we have, I think, more.
Yeah, next question. To the local investors, Sri Lankan investors. Now you have raised money, they have given you money, and they need traction. Okay, you guys are doing good with the money that you have raised. So what are the key measurements? Now for an example, you might say, okay, look, that I'm doing X number of transactions with X number of rupee value on average type of? Do you have any measurements that you talk about with your investors to show your real progress in the business?
So I think for every business, it will be fairly individualistic. There'll be different metrics that work for different businesses. I think at an early stage, a good investor will probably only want you to track 2, maybe maximum 3 key metrics.
Sorry to disturb you. I'm speaking about current business that you're doing. Now, what are the indicators that you are communicating to your investor?
Okay, so for us, the main one is number of consultations per day, since it's a platform product, and that's a metric that shows activity on both sides, and it's linked to revenue as well.
I think Sulfa also can add something.
So mine is very simple. It's number of rides. How many people do I move on the platform?
Yeah, I think Chamira would have a different perspective because you are not in both operational in that same
fairly a
business.
straight answer because the number of whatever the money that we make and the number of innovations and the patents that we're going to acquire, so something like that.
So probably we can get an answer from both of you also. What would you see as KPIs from startups?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I'm always looking at is how many potential customers people are coming into contact with, not just the money that's going through the bank. I want to make sure that there's enough pipeline that's continuing to come. And of course, I wear 2 hats, because as a business angel or informal investor, I'm looking for much less than I am when I'm wearing my management hat, because there I want to see on a quarterly basis 32 different things that each of our portfolio companies reports on. I have a report each year which comes in as well, and that works out not just the financial elements of the company, but also the impact they're making. Because for us as an impact investment fund, we have a theory of change with a number of areas that go all the way through to social development goals. So I want to see that there is real change happening. And I need to report that back to the shareholders.
Ray, anything would you like to add?
I think it's been pretty well covered. And I think you can see with every business there's different metrics. I think by and large it's what indicators are there that you're solving a problem, right? And I think one of the key things to get in the habit of, the rigor of, as an entrepreneur, is as soon as possible, from the get-go, as soon as you have a product, when you're designing the product, you should know what metrics you're going to be measuring in your business. What implies that you're actually solving this problem? What implies that people care about the problem, or businesses care about the problem, right? That's basically what a metric is. And I think there's not one that you need to be looking at.
Okay, so we probably can take about 2 more questions. I think we'll give a chance to lady because you already got one. Can we get the mic?
So this question is actually for the founder of Arimac, Chamira, is it? So you have spoke about how your team has managed to do such amazing things, take on such amazing projects. So even though you have a very big vision, you have a team that actually can back you and perform. So my question is, how have you managed to put together such an amazing team? Because a team, they have a very big role in the success of the founder itself. So just how did you manage to put up such a great team?
Basically, our culture is the key for that, because we have a very linear culture, and you can come whenever you want, and you can wear whatever you want. And our vision as a company is to nurture top Southern Asian talent, and give them the right they want to, what they deserve. So if you get, when someone speaks good English, normally Southern Asians think that they are the most intelligent people. Okay? I myself had a lot of difficulties explaining about the products that we have done, and in different countries. So 80% of my team is from outside of Colombo. I'm from Colombo, but 80% of my team is like from different regions in Sri Lanka, and most of them doesn't speak English, but they are in the international rankings, and we gave them a platform where they can come and to serve and win the world and to cater to the global market. So I think the platform that we have created for them is the key reason for them to treat us like that and be like a family, and whenever there's an issue in the company, they are with us. So our engineering retention is more than 95%. So we are very happy about that, and I'm very grateful for my team. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. So how have you managed to actually select the candidates? Because I'm sure, I mean, when you, okay, sorry.
No.
So actually, when you're gonna employ some people, you get some CVs, and you go through interviews and all of that. So are there any characteristics that you looked for when you were hiring your team?
No, we just check their passion and the willingness to work in our company. So I have a guy who really wanted to do a film in Sri Lanka. So he came from Kegol and 6 years back. So in the interview he told, "Ayya, mama මේකට එන්නේ ලංකාවේ ෆිල්ම් එකක් කරොත් විතරයි." So then I told it's not the right time to do a film back then. So we started a film to do like a proper 3D movie with the investment that we have acquired last year, and he's the director of that film. So to answer your question, we never check the GPAs or anything like that, but we check their disciplines, their attitude, their, whether that person is a family person. Because if you can manage a family right, and if you can have a relationship with your friend, with your wife, or with your mother and father, it's the best virtue. So you can be in our family. So those are the things that we check, not their academic capacities or how they speak or anything like that.
Okay, so we'll take the last question, if there's anything. The last, okay.
I want to add something to the question came from our friend from Good People. So let's take an example. If you have a antivirus software developing company, so when you get an investment, so you get some pressure to do more sales, right? So if you are down with the sales, you get to a point that you will create a virus yourself and release to the market and try to increase your sales. So how you do not do those kind of unethical things and survive with the investment? So
I think probably anybody can answer that.
So let me go after that question. I think that's I think Sam from the Good People company made a valid question. I think we are still very early, right? There's a lot of, there's a lot of money thrown into tech companies. Obviously, there will be a time where we need to draw a line, right? I think we haven't still got there, right? When autonomous cars come in, right? If you happen to go to Phoenix, you watch what is happening there, you would think again. You think about technology and how that can, how that'll take away the normal life that we all have now, right? So I think governments need to look at it very carefully. Do we need autonomous cars? Do we need robots taking our lives? I think these are questions we probably will have to answer in another 5 to 10 years' time. So it's very, very early, but these are things we need to look out for.
Right, I think our time is up, and you'll have them around. So if you have any one-to-one questions, you can probably take them with them. And I thank all of you guys. It was a lovely panel. And yeah.
Can I just say one thing? Yeah. After all that, all the negative stuff about venture capital, we still want to invest in companies. And I'm here because I'm very interested in Sri Lankan startups, and I do believe there are a lot of problems that are being solved here that are relevant in other markets, and thus there are some very large potential companies that are being built here in Sri Lanka. And the purpose of Techstars is to really help those companies out, and we give them capital, we surround them with mentors and corporate connections, and we help them grow. So I'd welcome you to apply for Techstars Bangalore. We're setting up the first accelerator starting in February. Applications are open, so please do apply. Thank you.
So, closing tip, he's going to be only here for 1 hour. So if you want to apply for Techstars Bangalore, catch him. Thank you, guys.